the 12 in the box.
Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes?
Just for the record, Mr. Harris is not in the courtroom. I'm not going to waive his presence on anything right now.
Are you okay with waiving his presence for this?
I
Or
think
do you wanna wait?
I think we better have him in here.
There's no
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
He's just right across the hall. It's real easy.
It's not a problem at all. Yeah.
How do you want us to do panel 2? Do you want us to reschedule them?
We're good, talking about it right now. Can you just have a seat? Why don't you sit right over there and then you'll know. And we can find out from your perspective what you need for information.
You can sit in our chair.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, that's fine. You can sit.
Do y'all have names on your chairs? I do. It says judge. Ha-ha. All righty. Mr. Harris is in the courtroom. I want to talk about jury management. When we resume, we're going to bring the 12 in, and we're going to put them in the jury box, and y'all will do your individual questioning. How long do you think it's going to take? And I know it's an estimate for the state's questions.
I think for individual, total, say probably between an hour, hour and a half. If it's 5 minutes apiece, you got 12 jurors, it'd probably be that. Some of them are going to take a little. If we're doing the ones that we're sticking to without doing the individual, then I think an hour is probably a rough estimate.
Thank you. Y'all can be seated during this. I
Oh,
don't need you
thank you.
standing up. Mr. Kilgore, how long do you think your individuals are going to be? Excluding the topics that are media and the other things that you've identified that we'll have to do individually.
Per juror?
I want a total time and allotment. Is how long you think your individuals, absent the things that will, your individual questions absent the things that will be sequestered. How long? State's saying an hour for theirs, and I'm not going to, raise Cain with you. I'm just trying to analyze some things.
Yeah. I think it would be a safe bet to say we're going to be talking to most of them for 10 to 15 minutes apiece. So I would think a couple of hours maybe.
Okay. Well, then we won't finish them this afternoon, probably. Possibly. Okay. So 2-3 hours. So to go through all 12 of them and then have the sequestered voir dire, there's no way. Well, let me put it this way. We will definitely be till tomorrow afternoon with this group of 36 people. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
It's likely it'll tumble into Thursday morning, isn't it?
That's a possibility.
I think
Okay.
it's probably.
But do you think it will consume the entirety of Thursday morning? Or do you think it's likely to consume half of Thursday morning?
If it goes into Thursday morning, and I probably tend to be on the more optimistic side, unfortunately, I think it would be, I'd have to say halfway through Thursday morning, it would be good to have jurors here Thursday morning.
Your thought?
Better be safe than sorry, but I think we make that call tomorrow.
No, we need to be calling them now.
Okay?
We don't have a call-in system. People have got to get on the phone and call these 36 folks. And my instinct was to have them come Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, but I prefer to hear from people that, in forming my opinion, it tends to be best to ask people who are going to be the participants what their estimates are. And y'all are basically in concert with what I was thinking, is that I want them here at 9. If we finish up early, we don't want to be sitting around doing nothing. And they've already been told they're going to have to wait, and they know they're going to have to wait. And they'll get an extra day, and we won't make them wait for that. So I think that's the best that we can do to be respectful of their time. So, Mr. Perdue, call them and tell them to be here, and Madam Clerk, call them and tell them to be here at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. Now, there's one other issue we need to talk about. We're going to keep the first 12. The next group of 12, I guess we need to ask to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the third group at 1:30. Strikes me. They'll have some wait time, but that puts off as much waiting as possible. What flaws do you see in what I'm thinking?
I think that's a good plan, Judge.
Do you have a better thought, Mr. Kilgore?
We don't.
Okay, so, we'll talk to the 12 this afternoon. The first two rows, which are gonna be 25 through 13 through 24, okay. They'll need to come in the morning at 9, and then 25 through 36 at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And panel number 2 will be rescheduled for Thursday morning at 9 o'clock.
Mhm. All righty,
Thank you, Judge.
thank you.
That's just,
I appreciate it, Mr. Purdue. All right, let's go ahead and bring in panel, the first 12 of panel 1.
Judge,
Yes?
as far as perfecting the record on the sustained objections, do you want to do that now or at the end of the day?
The one that we did on the record?
I think it was taken down.
Yeah.
I wanted to perfect the record because that was all on the bench.
Let's get through these, and then I'll let you do it.
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe you can artfully craft questions that are superior to the one that I overruled, where it will satisfy your need to know,
And Judge,
or not.
two of the questions that kind of came up through the questioning of the defense, I just want to make sure that those are things we're going to be reserving to kind of talk about impartiality and issues involving media in the case. I think two of them in particular, a question about, some of them answered, have you formed an opinion about, or posted an opinion about somebody leaving a child in a car? And then I think also, has your family expressed any opinion about this case? I was just, my thinking was, and I just want to be on the same page, that would be something we handled in individual sequestered voir dire and not in front of everybody.
I agree, because we don't need to contaminate the panels. Had you had a different thought, Mr. Kilgore?
That's the plan, Judge.
That's a good plan. It may be easier said than done, but I know we'll all be trying. Have they sent for jurors? That sounds like it. Please do.
Yes, ma'am. seated, please.
All right, we're going to resume now with individual voir dire by first the state and then the defense. Mr. Bourne, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, the way this is going to go is we're going to go one juror at a time, start with juror number one. I'm going to ask you some individual questions, then the defense is going to ask you some questions. And when we're done, we'll move along to juror two and go that way. So y'all don't get completely tired of my voice yet. Mr. Kilgore breaks it up a bit, okay? All right, so juror number one, first of all, just a little bit about your background. You said you're retired from AT&T?
Yes,
Okay, and what type of work did you do for AT&T?
I was a tester.
Okay. And during your career with AT&T, did you do that type of work the whole time?
Yes,
Okay. I believe you stated that your spouse is retired from some sort of instruction.
yes.
Okay, what type of instruction?
She was a program director for medical assistant students at Gwinnett Technical School and Lawrence.
Okay. I believe you answered some questions about, as far as your job history, you've had the opportunity to supervise people and things of that nature, hire and fire.
Yes.
Okay. When you supervise people, just general range, how many people did you supervise? I guess give me the maximum amount that you would supervise at one time.
We might have had 8.
Okay. And as far as hiring and firing, how often would you have to hire employees? Is it pretty constant?
Well, in the early days, we had to add a few, but we didn't have that much turnovers. Not in our.
Okay. I believe you stated that you know somebody who is an attorney or practicing. Okay. And is that somebody here local in Glenn County?
No, he's up in the metro Atlanta area.
Okay. And what type of law does he practice, if you know?
To be honest with you, I don't know if he has a specialty.
Okay.
I
Is-
think he treats all innocent men, guilty folks that come along.
Okay. So has he ever told you like war stories about defending criminal defendants or prosecuting them or anything like that? Or okay, so you don't go that in depth about it.
No.
All right. I believe you stated you also, either you, a family member, or somebody close to you has been in the military or had military training.
I've been in the
Okay. Thank you for your service, sir. What branch were you in?
Air Force.
Okay. And how long were you in the military?
We're just under 4 years.
I believe you stated you've known somebody who has legal training or something like that. Is that your friend you were talking about in Atlanta or something different?
No, it's not my friends, my brother-in-law.
Your brother-in-law. Okay. Sorry. All right. You also told us that you know somebody in the medical field, or somebody that's worked as a family member or friend.
The medical assistant does.
Oh, you're- All right. So basically, your spouse is retired from that.
Yes.
Okay. You did state that you you go to a church or a temple or something like that. Do you go to a local church here in Glenn County?
I do.
Okay. And what church is that?
St. Reading or St. Simon's.
Okay. If you have any free time, what do you like to do in your free time? Hobbies or things like that?
No, I've helped establish a volunteer group that does restoration work at Oak Grove Cemetery in London.
Now we ask you some questions about social media and news and things like that. I'm going to ask you a few follow-up questions, okay? What media outlets particularly do you get most of your news from? Do you get it more from, for example, like CNN on TV, the internet, local news, Fox News, Twitter, things like that? What source do you usually get your media or your news from?
Newspaper or Fox or the local TV stations.
Okay. And it's good having all. Okay.
Savannah, Jacksonville.
It's good having y'all at 12 here, so now I can kind of, when I ask y'all the question, y'all know what I'm going to be getting at, so I don't have to give as long and flowery a question. Do you go on the internet much, look at websites, things like that?
Not a lot. I'm usually looking for sites that deal with cemetery history.
Okay, and that was going to be my follow-up. When you do go on the internet, like what do you usually look for? So it's basically toward your hobby. Okay. All right. All right. I believe you stated that you use cell phone applications to message people. And when you do that, what type of applications do you use?
Well, I use an iPhone, I use the messaging system it has, or the email system it has.
Okay. And I believe you stated that you in the past you've transported a child to daycare before in the past.
Okay, fine.
Five kids and 5 grandkids, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And when you transported the kids to daycare, did you have to take them in car seats and things like that?
yes.
Okay. How long ago is, I guess, how long has it been since you transported one of your children, or are you still helping transport your grandkids around?
The two were here and moved back to the Atlanta area, so I haven't been in a few months.
Okay. All right. And I think, other than some of the other questions we'll talk to you about later, I think that's all the questions I have right now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Kilgore.
Thank you.
Your initials are EJ?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had the right person. We've gotten somehow discombobulated with some of the paperwork. You are very soft-spoken, so I'm going to have to ask the same questions that Mr. Boring asked. I just simply could not hear what you were saying. You did indicate to us that you retired from AT&T and you were a tester. I did not hear what location you worked at.
Well, you work in a central location, somewhere in an office.
Okay.
typically around Atlanta,
Okay,
but you work whatever the southeastern area that they're assigned to. My particular area was Georgia,
okay.
along with a lot of other people.
All right, and did you maintain an office in Atlanta?
That desk is a cubicle.
Okay.
in an office.
All right, you were on the road a lot.
No, these are all office jobs. You do all this testing.
I got you. And were you with the company when they were Bell South or Lucent?
I started when it was still Bell South.
Okay. My father-in-law retired from the company. His name was, last name Budner, Budner. He was in the Atlanta area and traveled Georgia as well. Does that name ring a bell?
No,
Okay. You indicated that you had transported grandchildren, and I just couldn't hear what you said. Do you currently have, you've got grandchildren as young as 3?
I do. They're no longer living in this area. They moved back toward the Atlanta area.
Okay.
And those were the last ones I did transportation for.
All right. Did you at any time keep a car seat in your car?
Sometimes we had car seats and sometimes the mother would give us hers.
So y'all would swap, take car seat out of mom's car, put it in your car?
Yeah.
What kind of vehicle did y'all have that you were putting the car seat in?
Honda Odyssey.
Honda Odyssey? Is that, is the Odyssey like a van or an?
Kind of like a station wagon. It's what station wagons turned into.
Okay. And would this be transporting your now 3-year-old grandchild short distances to the store or church or whatever?
We might take them to day school in Brunswick or something like that.
Day school? Okay. Were you and your wife ever the primary transporter of that grandchild?
What do you mean primary?
Well, are you the one that got her up in the morning and took her to daycare every morning?
No.
So you and your wife would just help out as needed?
Yes, that's the question.
Okay. What are we talking, a couple times a summer or a few times a week?
Oh, it might run about once a month.
Okay. So there wasn't really a need to keep a car seat in the car all the time then?
Correct.
And have you been up there to visit since they've moved to Atlanta and had to put that car seat back in your car to transport your grandchild?
No, I haven't.
And was that a forward facing or a rear facing?
Forward.
And you wouldn't know what brand or model or, okay. And let's see, the Odyssey would have two bucket seats in the front, and then does it have two bucket seats in the second row of seating, or is it a bench?
It's a bench, but it's not a solid bench. It has a little, kind of a little center area to it.
Okay,
It serves as a seat, but you can remove it.
okay. Did it have strapping that permitted you to put that, install that car seat right in the middle?
No, it had to be sitting on a seat,
Okay,
on the sides, not in the middle.
all right. And which side did you put it on typically?
Well, if we were doing both sides were. One side, then it would depend on whether you had anybody else riding with you, so it could be on either side.
Okay.
My wife would usually put it on the passenger side if she was driving by herself.
Could your wife install the seat by herself?
Yep.
Okay. When do you think is the last time that you would have had the car seat in your Odyssey and responsible for transporting your grandchild?
I'd say 4 or 5 months ago.
4 or 5 months ago?
Yep.
Okay. All right. You live on St. Simons?
I do.
Did you retired to St. Simons, or did you already have residence down here?
I was born here.
You born here? Okay.
Left in 70, came back in 75, left again, came back in 2012.
Probably changed a little bit.
Indeed.
You indicated that you had a break-in and theft in November of 2011, so that was prior to your moving back?
Yes.
Where was that?
Pardon?
Where was that?
In my house in St. Simons.
Oh, it was here.
Yes.
You just hadn't moved back full-time?
Right.
Okay. All right, since 2014, you have lived down here, and you've indicated your primary media comes from Jacksonville?
We don't have TV stations here, so you either got to listen to Jacksonville or Savannah.
Okay. And do you get both?
Here it is.
Do. You take a daily newspaper?
I do.
What do you take?
Brunswick News.
All right. So you don't take either the Savannah paper or the Jacksonville paper then?
No, I do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, juror number 2. So you kind of know the drill, but you answered a lot more questions than juror number 1. So, all right. First of all, I didn't ask the general question to all of y'all with 36 out there, but I'll ask y'all now. Does anybody here just particularly want to be on this jury, Like you're like, yippee, I want to be on this jury. All right, juror number 4. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, so juror number 2, you, I believe you said your main work right now, you are doing work with eBay? I'm sorry? Oh, okay. But you had been working with eBay. Was that your enterprise? Kind of, okay. And what type of things did you do on eBay? Just buying and selling things? Okay. And during your career, when you have been employed, is that kind of the main type of work that you've done is customer service? I mean, you are pretty young, so you haven't been out in the workforce that long.
I've worked at a couple more places.
Okay.
A beach resort on St. Simon,
Okay.
Bath and Body Works,
Mhm.
and a store in Glenn County Mall, or Glenn Place Mall.
Okay. And mostly customer service, retail, that type of thing? Okay, great. Let's see. Okay, I believe you stated that you have, you know somebody that works in the court system? Okay, first of all, what part of the court system do they work? Like in the clerk's office, a judge?
A lawyer and a clerk
Okay. And who are those people?
here in Glenn County.
Okay.
Mr. James Yancey,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not familiar with others.
Just somebody you know by sight. Okay, I got you.
Friend of the father.
Okay. And how do you know Mr. Yancey?
He lives in Kingston, we for tickets.
I got you.
And I went to his church when he was little.
Okay. All right. You also stated that you've known somebody, you've had family or friends in law enforcement. Okay, tell me about that.
My father was a police chief recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's retired, and I have a cousin that's a police officer right now,
Mhm.
Clifford Partridge, and my mother is a police officer.
Okay. And starting with your father being the police chief, is that here somewhere in Glenn County? Okay, for Glenn County Police Department, or okay. I know y'all got sheriff's office and police department, kind of two different things. So okay. And your cousin, is he a police officer, Glenn County Police? And your mother, did she also work for Glenn County? Okay. All right. We talked about ask you about military. You know people in the military. Tell me about that.
Now, he's deceased, but it was my grandfather.
Okay. You also stated that you've known somebody that's had legal training. Is that Mr. Yancey, who you're talking about, or somebody different?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now we ask a bunch of other things. Do you know anybody? Have you ever had any training, or anybody else known anybody that's had any training in several fields? So I'm gonna ask, just going down on that, psychology, psychiatry. Tell me about what your answer on that question.
My mother has a degree in psychology. Did you be more specific with any other training?
I think that question was psychiatry, psychology, or counseling.
Yes, psychology.
Okay. And did you say that you know somebody who's been involved in sociology as well, or had training or experience? Okay. How about criminology? Okay, tell me about that.
My father did some training in the field for.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. You have any, when you have free time, what do you like to do? Do you have any hobbies or anything?
I'm currently a babysitter.
Okay.
So do that, and I flush it over travels.
Now, we asked several questions about social media and technology and things, so I'm going to kind of turn to those questions now, okay? You said that you use cell phone applications in addition to texting and things like that to communicate as far as messengers. What do you use in that regard?
Instagram, Snapchat, I used to use Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
Kik,
Okay.
all of the
Yeah.
social media.
All right, let me try to break it up a little bit. First, and I don't, maybe because I'm older, this is how I deal with it in my head. There's some of these types of things you can actually message people back and forth, like privately message them on your cell phone as well, in addition to doing the social media type stuff.
Facebook Messenger.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if Skype is one of those.
I think that's appropriate. Yeah. Okay. You talked about Twitter. Are you a regular Twitter user, or you just know about it?
I had one before.
Okay. Okay. You said Kick. How are you familiar with that? What did you use that one for? Okay. Is that just friends and stuff like that? Okay.
From Instagram.
Okay. You said you're familiar with Backpage. Okay. And how about that?
Just heard of it.
You just heard of it.
Around.
Okay. All right. Whisper. What have you heard about that? Just, okay. Do you use it?
No.
Okay. I believe you stated that in using social media, you communicated with somebody you've never met in person online. Tell me about that.
I normally date people from online.
Okay, so when I asked that, so we killed two questions with one stone, I guess. Yeah. So you've used that online dating and things like that. Okay. And have you ever gone online and been on an app where you're not seeking to date people and you got people sending you?
I've been on POL.
What's that?
That's a dating app.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let me ask you this. In addition to doing dating apps, have you ever been on a social media app or something like that where you've gotten somebody like on Facebook or Instagram where you start getting weird messages or people send you like sexually?
Yeah, they just send them, but I don't look at them.
Okay. All right.
Not, just random strangers.
Right. Okay. Now you've actually written a letter to the editor before. Okay. Tell me about that.
It was cool. It was kind of more of like a hardship thing I had to do, so that's the reason I wrote it.
Okay. Okay. And with how do you get your news? First of all, do you follow the news much?
Not much. Only when like hurricanes or tornadoes. Normally that's all the time I turn it on.
All right. And
My
when
parents watch it, so I'm currently walking through the house watching it.
okay, so when you get news just randomly and stuff like that, where do you usually get it from? Like TV, the internet? Okay. Bless you, I think. Okay.
Do you need a tissue or anything? Are you okay?
All right. I believe you stated that you actually operate or have used or contributed to a blog before. Okay, tell me about that.
YouTube, it's a blog. It's like a couple blogs that I contributed to their baby before.
Okay.
They were like doing a blog and they were trying to get baby stuff and I actually sent them some stuff for their baby.
Okay. And with YouTube, do you use YouTube very often? Okay. And what do you use it for?
To watch them, the couple. and
Okay.
everything. And I use Google
Mm-hmm.
and Tumblr.
All right. You said going into kind of TV shows and things like that, as far as legal TV shows that you watch, some legal TV shows that are nonfiction, I think. Tell me, what shows do you watch in that regard?
I really like to watch anything on Lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had another question about Law
Mm-hmm.
and Order, CSI.
Okay. Okay, so CSI and Law and Order. CSI, for instance, so you watch that a lot? Okay. You've watched it before? Okay. And as far as watching that, you think that's how the real world works? You know, sometimes they can get like fingerprints off of eyeballs and stuff like that. Okay. You would agree that that's a lot of that's fiction, right? Okay. Okay. I believe you stated that you've actually either watched or followed some kind of legal docudrama or podcast. Tell me which ones and things that you listened to.
Inception, I kind of followed it, but I didn't tweet or do anything. I was just reading about it.
Okay. And was that mini series, the People versus O.J. Simpson? Okay. And you weren't old enough to follow that trial when it happened, right? Okay. I believe you stated that you've read a nonfiction murder book before.
Yes.
Okay. And what type? Was it a particular case, or what was the book about, if you remember?
I just know the trial on like the murder.
Mm-hmm.
But that was years ago.
Okay. Nothing that sticks with you. Okay.
I just read a lot, so.
Okay. That's good. I believe you stated you followed a real trial before, an actual trial somehow, either on TV or in the news or something. And what was that? What trial? If you remember.
The same, honestly, I watch anything, so I'm not sure.
Okay. But it's something that you remember following it, but it's nothing that sticks out in your head. It's too memorable that, okay. Now, you've actually been a witness as well in a courtroom, or so, okay. Tell me about that. What type of proceeding was it?
It was a witness for an affair.
Okay. Was this in the course of like a divorce or something?
No, I had a friend that was having an affair with a married man. So
Okay. I got you. Sorry about that.
I got dragged into it.
Okay. Okay. Now, I believe you stated that you are familiar with the Smyrna, Marietta 285 area. Okay, how are you familiar with that?
I just passed through it.
Okay.
Stopped at the gas station.
Okay. Nothing more than that? Now, you have also volunteered with children in the past? Okay, tell me about that.
I worked at a daycare in the church before,
Okay.
and I used to do like CIT training
Mhm.
for a summer camp,
Mhm.
and I got paid for it.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. I think you've answered it now. So the job you've had working for pay was as a counselor, camp, okay. Now, you stated you've had a bad experience with law enforcement before, and then a good one. We'll talk about the bad one first. So tell me a little about it.
Tickets, and then once I talked to the lawyer and everything, I got off.
Okay. And was this what did you think about what did you think was the bad experience about with the officer? Were they mean to you, or I'm just
Yeah, just in being stopped a lot of times. It was
Mhm.
so like a physical, not attack, but
Yeah.
just verbally, the things that were said.
a little aggressive? Okay. All right. Now, about that particular experience, is there anything about that personal experience that would affect your ability to be fair to both sides in this case? Okay. Now, your good experience with law enforcement. Tell me about that.
Well,
I mean, you've got a lot of family there, so I mean, I guess that's kind of
that's
okay. And let me ask you the question, follow up on that. Now, you have personal relationships with family members in law enforcement. Anything about those relationships that would affect your ability to be fair to both sides? Okay. I believe you stated that you've known somebody that's been treated unfair by the court system, be it a civil case, criminal case, one or the other. Tell me a little about that.
someone I'm dating right now.
Okay.
But it happened in a different state.
Okay. And I don't want to get too personal or anything like that. So, the thing that he had happened, were you dating him at the time when it was in another state, or did you know him? Okay. And what you know about it, is that just things you've learned from him telling you? Okay. Was this something, because the next question I ask you, know anybody that's been ever charged with a crime, stuff like that, was this something where he was charged with a crime, or was it something civil?
Civil.
Okay. Did it involve like domestic, like divorce type stuff, or do you know, what exactly does it involve?
No, it was domestic.
Okay.
violence, but
Mhm.
it wasn't like an affair or anything.
Okay. And basically, from what he told you, from what you understand, he was treated unfairly. Okay. Now, again, a lot of these questions are going to be any reason it would affect your ability to be fair to both sides in this case. And I believe you stated you've known somebody who's been arrested for a crime before. Is anything other than the person you've already talked about? Okay. All right. I believe you've actually had to report something to the police before, like give a statement to them?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
I was in college and I had a friend that was being attacked, so we had to
Oh, wow.
run a police report.
Okay. And I assume in that case you didn't have to testify or anything down the road? Okay. All right. I believe you stated that you've known somebody that's experienced the sudden death of a child. Okay, I'm just going to ask you, is that something that's happened to you or just somebody you know?
No, it was the ex.
Ex?
And I was dating him at the time that it happened.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Was this something that was it natural causes or, okay. Okay, you already told us about online dating, so. All right, you've transported children to daycare before? Okay, tell me about that.
I have a best friend, and I used to transport him. This was probably about 4 years ago, though.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to take him to a local daycare in Glen County where she had to go to work and stuff like that.
Okay. Was that something you did like on a routine, or was it just whenever she needed you?
Yes, probably 3 times a week.
Okay. So about 60% of the time you, okay. I believe you stated also that you've known somebody who's forgotten a child in the car or something like that.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It wasn't for long. It was just like more of a, oh, I forgot, and went right back to the car.
Okay. For just like a couple
Yeah.
minutes, seconds. Okay. I believe you stated you've taken affirmative steps or know about taking affirmative steps about something of that nature. What affirmative steps are you familiar with? Or
They actually have a baby monitor in the car.
mm-hmm.
So we can hear the baby sleeping or,
And when you say baby, how old was this child?
5 months.
Okay, so this wasn't like a toddler's up walking around and stuff. Okay. When we talk about a child being falling asleep fast in the car seat, I think Mr. Kilgore asked you that. Was this about the same 5-month-old?
Yes.
Okay. And when you talked about, have you ever, you've had an experience with an officer misleading or exaggerating something, was that in regard to what you've already talked about, your traffic ticket? Okay. All right. Let me just make sure with my other questions I don't have anything else to follow up with. I think other than some other things we'll talk to you about later, I think that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Miss JG. Yeah? Okay. I want to follow up on a couple of things that you talked to Mr. Bourne about right then. In particular, you indicated that your dad is the former police chief of Glenn County.
Retired.
Retired.
Yes.
Okay. When did he retire?
About 6 months ago.
Okay. So this is pretty recent.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And of course, we're not from here, but my understanding is that in this county, there is a police department and a sheriff's department, and those are not the same thing.
He's for the police department.
Okay. So he didn't have anything to do with court security or anything about the jail?
No.
All right. Did, if he was the police chief, I'm assuming he was in that line of work most of the time when you were growing up as a child? Did you ever go to the courthouse to watch him do any work in the courthouse? Okay. Did you ever see him have to actually take the stand and testify? Did not? Okay. Growing up, did he talk about cases and stuff they did on the job? Did not? Okay. Just kind of left.
I just never really asked, so.
Oh, you didn't ask about it? Okay. And you said your mom was a police officer?
That was probably about 15 years ago.
Okay. She's been off the job or retired for 15 years?
She's now working with the Internal Revenue Service.
IRS?
Yes.
Okay. Here in town?
Savannah.
Where is it? Did you grow up here or grow up in Savannah?
Augusta, Georgia.
Augusta, all right. Now, I think it's a fair question to ask. You've got obviously some very close familial connections that worked in law enforcement. Do you think that you would feel any sort of pressure perhaps to sort of go with the state because you know you've got to come from a family of police officers.
No, I think I should be able to have my own opinion.
I do too. I think you ought to also. But I'm just asking if you believe you might feel some pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you wouldn't be concerned that Dad's going to call you up. Let's say that you did not go with the state. Your dad's not going to call you up and go, "What did you do?" You're not worried about that. Okay. All right. Now we've, I believe you've actually got you've got to answer for a traffic ticket this week. No, that was somebody else. Okay. But you talked about having some tickets, and Mr. Yancey has represented you.
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen him in the courthouse this week?
I seen him, yesterday.
Saw him yesterday? Okay. And he's more than just your occasional lawyer. He's kind of a friend of the family as well, because you knew him from church. Does he have his own church?
No.
Or y'all just went to the same church? Okay. All right. And I don't mean to embarrass you, but how often do you have to seek out Mr. Yancey's help for these tickets?
That was only one time thing, I learned my lesson.
Learned your lesson, okay. By any chance, it wasn't the Glenn County Police Department that gave you that ticket, was it?
A couple tickets.
Couple?
One was probably from Glenn County,
Okay,
others in other areas.
all right, but not while your dad was the chief. Okay. You were asked a little bit about some of these phone apps, Scout and Kick in particular, and you said you were familiar with both of those. These are messaging type apps, right? Okay, Kick is the one you're familiar with? All right, have you ever used Scout?
Yeah, I've just heard of it and seen it.
Okay, and so if I'm correct, to communicate with somebody on Kick, both parties have to agree to communicate, right?
Yes.
Okay. In other words, if you're on Kick, you can't just start getting messages from somebody. You have to basically both agree to communicate.
Yeah, you can get messages from anyone,
Okay?
but you can't deny them or make your page private, so you can't get them.
Okay. All right. You talked about you talked about a boyfriend being treated unfairly, and you also were very soft-spoken, so I was having a little bit of difficulty understanding exactly what you were saying. Were you saying he was treated unfairly by police?
Yes.
Okay. And it had to do with some sort of DV case? Domestic violence case? Okay. Did he get arrested for something?
Yes.
All right. Is that a case that is still pending?
No,
All right. Did you have to testify for him or anything? You did not?
I wasn't dating him.
You were not dating him at the time. This is just some information that you got from him after the fact.
Yes.
All right. Was that here locally?
No, it was in Michigan.
Yeah, okay, Michigan. And you may have said that, but I'm having a hard time hearing you sitting over there. You told us about transporting this 5-month-old, and I could not hear. Is this the child that you currently sit for? You currently keep?
No, that's the child I currently keep, the 5-month-old. The one I transported was my best friend's son 4 years ago.
Your best friend's son. All right. And how often did you do that?
3 times out of the week.
Okay. Were you responsible for getting that child from the house to the daycare in the morning? All right. Did you keep a car seat in your vehicle?
No, I keep one, but she has a spare, so when I did have to get him, I would just use hers.
You would just put it in that morning or just keep it all week?
I would use it that
That
morning.
morning?
Anyone if I know the next day if I have to take him to daycare, I would just keep it in there.
Okay. And you,
She had a babysitter Saturday,
I got you. All right. And then did you pick up in the afternoon as well?
sometimes.
How long did this go on where you did transportation 3 days a week?
It was about a year and a half.
Oh, a long time. Okay. Did you Did you transport from, and you weren't living at the house where the child was, right?
No.
Okay, so you'd pick the child up in the morning at the parent's house, take the child to daycare?
Yes.
All right. And did you have any, how far of a distance was that?
It was from Darien to Glenn County.
Okay. All right. And did you have any sort of, did you ever have to, was there anything else you did in the morning besides transport the child? Okay. Did you ever have to stop for gas or stop for coffee or
Yes.
gasoline? Okay. Breakfast, coffee, dry cleaning, anything like that? Okay. So typically it was pretty standard. You drove there, dropped the child off, and that was it. Occasionally you might have to stop for gasoline. Was it sort of the same thing in the afternoon? Pick the child up, drive the child home?
Yes.
Okay.
To the mother's house.
To the mom's house?
In Glenn County.
Okay.
If I did pick them up.
Okay. And essentially, same kind of thing, you didn't, there weren't a lot of reasons to stop along the way for food or gas or dry cleaning or doctor's appointments or anything like that? All right. And again, this is, none of this is meant to be embarrassing, and you don't seem to be embarrassed by any of it, but you indicated to us that you routinely date online, meaning you meet people profile-wise and y'all agree to have a date, basically. Is there a particular dating service or site that you use or prefer?
I've been on POF, but that's the only dating site I've ever been on. Other than that, I meet people through like Instagram.
Through Instagram? Okay. And did you say POF? Okay. All right. And how long have you been doing that?
POF, I've only been on there for about 2 months.
Oh, so this is something kind of new. All right. You also indicated that you had a friend who had an affair with a man who was married, but I didn't understand what the context was there. You said you were a witness. Did you have to be a witness like in the courtroom?
Yes.
Okay. So was there some sort of a trial that happened?
I'm not sure. I was there for the part of, they said that they did they issued us a warrant on the person that we were, I guess, in contact with
Okay.
her. And I guess because I was the one transporting them when they were together. So I was called in because I was, I guess, escorting them everywhere, so I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Your friend was dating a married man and you were driving them around, basically. Okay. And then, so you got sucked into it and you had to go to court to tell what you knew.
Yes.
Was it in this building?
No.
Where was it?
In the courthouse.
Next, a couple of blocks up the street?
I think it's in the old courthouse. I'm not sure.
Okay. You still friends with that girl?
Yes.
Yeah? So you weren't too sore at her then, I guess, dragging you into that, right? All right. You knew somebody who had apparently momentarily forgot a child in the car. Was this just a one-time thing?
Yes.
Okay. Who was that person?
It was a friend.
Okay.
And, just like people in school, just having conversations about it.
All right. So you've known more than one person who
Just
has
said
had
that
us.
they did. I haven't witnessed it, but they said that they slept with the child.
Okay. How would that conversation come up? I mean, why would it be that you and your friends would be talking about such a thing as a child being left in a car?
We'll probably be on the phone and, they would probably say, oh, they probably just got out the car.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on the phone talking, so they probably forgot. They thought, oh, yeah, I forgot. I gotta get the baby.
Okay.
Sleep.
All right. So basically got distracted while they were talking to you and then remembered and went and got the baby. Okay. So you've known this conversation has come up before. All right. And you certainly don't know anybody that's had a tragedy okay. All right. And you told Mr. Boring about someone who had a baby monitor, that they put the baby monitor in the back seat?
They have two, one's in the back seat and they take the other one with them. So she would like hear the baby crying.
Okay,
Or, you know, if the baby sleep, she hears snoring. So she would, if she did leave the child in the car, she would automatically know, as long as she heard it on the baby monitor.
okay, so she carries the monitor around with her and leaves one like in the bag or the car seat, or, all right, and just leaves it on. And the reason she does that is so that if she gets out and forgets, that she'll have that kind of a reminder to hear the baby. It's pretty smart. Who does that? Who's your friend that does that? Your sister? How long's she been doing that?
5 months, she just had.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and how old is is it a niece or nephew?
Niece.
How old's your niece?
She's 5 months.
Oh. Do you know why your sister thought that this was a good idea or necessary to take this sort of precaution?
I think it was an accident. I think she probably had the baby monitor with
Really?
her on the way to work, and she realized, and she's like, oh, hey, I can keep one in the car too.
Yeah.
So,
And so now she just thinks it's a good idea. All right. I think it's a good idea. All right. All right, a couple of things. And does that niece live here?
yes.
All right. You don't keep a car seat in your car to transport that niece around now?
So anywhere with her, I have some babies for the past 2 months,
Every
every day.
day? Okay. So you're kind of the primary caregiver right now then? While mom goes
She's at work.
Mom goes to work. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to a couple of other things. Yeah, one last thing I want to follow up on that Mr. Bourne asked you about was the death of a child you said happened to an ex. I just could not understand what you meant by that. You mean a person who you dated at one time lost a child?
Yes, at 6 months.
Okay. And you were dating this person when it happened, but it wasn't your child. Did you have to sort of help this person kind of through the grieving process? And
Yes.
okay. Were you there at the time that this person found out? No.
They live in Savannah and I live here, so.
Okay.
it was an off-call.
All right. You told us that you were familiar with the Cobb, Marietta, Smyrna area. That's just because you've driven through a couple times or something?
Stopped at a gas station.
Stopped at a gas station? Okay. But you don't have any friends that live there? You're not up there on a regular
I have a
basis?
friend that recently lived in Marietta, but she moved, so.
Okay. What about Cumberland Mall? You know that area?
No, heard of it.
All right. All right, you indicated that since yesterday you sort of heard some chit chat about about this case, from either some family or friends around the courthouse. Was that anything more than somebody just saying, "Hey, did you hear about this case?" or "Hey, are you on that jury?"
No, I got a phone call from a friend in Cannon County.
Okay.
She just happened to be there. She was like, hey, I read about this case in Atlanta.
What'd you say?
I was like, oh, okay, that's good.
You just play it off like you didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Okay. Good for you. Was it hard? Was it hard to just no? All right. And this friend didn't tell you any facts or anything like that. You no? Okay. All right. There's some questions that we're gonna, let's see, that we're gonna follow up with you about. So I'm gonna hold off on a few things for right now. But you told, I asked if you've ever formed an opinion concerning whether or not a child can be forgotten in a car, and you indicated that you had formed an opinion about that. What was your, did you indicate that you had formed an opinion about whether that could happen? What was your opinion?
Objection, Judge, we've already gotten the answer to that and set that aside for later.
I think it needs to be set aside for later, Mr. Kilgore, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll ask you about that later then, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna also, you answered some other questions about stuff that you'd heard, other opinions from other people. I'll hold that and ask you about that later as well, okay? All right, I'm also gonna hold, for later, asking you, you had responded about, I asked if, you knew of any news accounts or stories of a child left in a car, other than this
Judge,
case.
I'm gonna object at this time if I'm reiterating all of these questions. It's specifically been set aside to handle later.
I agree.
Yeah, what I don't want to happen, is for us to, later, from Mr. Boring to suggest that, well, you should have asked that then, so I'm not asking the question.
I don't perceive that happening.
Okay. All right, we asked you if you'd ever known a police officer to mislead or exaggerate, and you indicated that you had. What circumstances was that, did that happen in?
That happened a couple of years ago, to me in Glenn County.
Happened to you in Glenn County? Okay. Was that something as a result of arrest, an officer suggested something that wasn't accurate?
They just ended up calling reinforcement when it was,
Okay, you want to talk to us about that in private? Okay, yeah, that's no problem. Apparently, we've got some other questions that we're gonna have to ask you. Okay, I think everything else I've got from Miss GJ, Judge, I can hold, follow up on later. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Kilgore.
Juror number 3. All right, I know the first 2 jurors have been a little soft-spoken, so maybe if,
I will speak up.
all right, great. 'Cause maybe we won't have to ask the same questions twice if both parties can hear them, okay? Thank you very much. So talking a little bit, you see where we're going to go. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your background. You said you're a retired homemaker. Explain that to me a little bit more.
Well, most of my married life, I've been a housewife.
Okay.
So that when they ask on the occupation line on forms, I put retired. So that's why it came out double description.
Okay. And were there times where you did work outside the home?
Yes.
Okay, and what type of work did you do?
I worked at, in medical records, doing coding
Okay.
a while. And then, I had a real estate license
Mm-hmm.
for a few years. And I've done retail work. It was over at the marina. the
Mhm. Yeah.
Sail boats, because we owned a sailboat at the time.
Okay. And your husband's retired he was a structural engineer. And did he do that most of his professional career? Was he always in that line? Okay. All right. And you have 2 adult children, and then you also have grandkids.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I believe at some point you state that you've had the ability to hire and fire in some position?
Well, most of the time I figured you were asking about someone who was doing that
Oh.
at their place of work.
Okay.
And I don't know, my mind went to at home. Hire people to work for you, and
Mm-hmm.
once in a while, you have to fire someone.
Right. Work not quite up to snuff. Or starts out great when they want to get your business.
Disaster.
What's that?
Plumbing, dishwasher, disaster.
Oh, yeah, I understand. They start out and sometimes everything's great, and the next thing you know, it's falling apart. I'm sorry to hear that. You stated that you've known somebody or you've had family members, somebody close to you that's been involved in the military.
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little about that.
My oldest boy was a career Navy submarines, 25 years, and he's now retired.
Oh, wow. Guess you get to retire fairly early if you get stuck on you're on a submarine for years. It's pretty tough work. You've also known somebody who's got legal training, or has had some legal training, or involvement in the legal field, maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay, and I may have written something down wrong in the hurry to get through everything. So thank you for correcting me on that. Okay, you've known somebody in the medical field that's worked in the medical field. I know you've done medical coding, correct?
Yeah, but it's been a while. Nothing current.
Okay. And you've known people who have been in the, I guess, IT or computer technology industry.
Oh, my sister worked for Oppenheimer Investment Company in Denver.
Mhm.
All of her career, well, almost all of her career. She's just retired last year. She did the investment programs, set that up.
Okay. And I believe you've had a license before. Was that as a real estate agent? You had a license?
Yes,
Okay. Now, you have been on a jury before, correct?
yes.
How many times?
Twice, they were both civil cases.
Okay. And without telling me what your verdict was as a jury on those 2 occasions, were you able to reach verdicts?
The first time, yes. The second time, it was a hung jury.
Okay. All right. And any particularly positive or negative experiences from those occasions that would in any way impact your ability to be a juror on this case?
No,
Okay. Were those both in Glenn County?
yes.
All right. Now, it's kind of, I saw you when you were talking about your family member who worked at Oppenheimer. You started doing this about computers and stuff.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
I'm thinking computer and typing and keyboards,
Well, my follow-up's going to be, it sounds like you don't use technology a whole lot.
not too much.
Okay. Did you say that you do not use a cell phone?
I have a basic cell phone.
Like, I think I use the term flip phone.
Yeah, that's exactly.
We have a couple of people in our office that use flip phones too, so I understand. Okay. But you don't text on it. You use it to call and things
No.
like that?
No,
Okay.
if I want to email somebody, I do it at home computer.
Okay. And you don't get on Facebook or Instagram or that type of stuff, right? Okay. See, I think you said you're familiar with Craigslist.
We sold a washer and dryer on Craigslist this year in March.
Okay. And are you familiar with other uses for it, or is that the only thing that you've really
That was
used
the
it
only
for?
time I've ever used it.
All right. I believe you stated that you may have followed an actual trial before, either on TV or in the news or in person.
I followed the O.J. Simpson trial on TV.
Okay. Were y'all living here in Glenn County then?
Pardon?
Were you and your husband, were y'all living in Glenn
Yes.
County then?
Yes.
Okay. And so thank you. Sometimes I'll mumble too, so. Okay. And you've actually had to file a report to the police before, correct?
Yes, that was for a home burglary.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And with that, was a perpetrator, the suspect ever caught?
We suspect it was a neighborhood teenager, but we'll never know for sure.
Okay. Anything about that experience that would affect your ability, I don't know how it would, but to be fair to both sides in this case?
No.
Okay. Okay, I believe you stated that you've known somebody who's experienced the sudden death of a child.
Yes, my older sister, it was SIDS
Okay.
death, and the baby was 3 months old.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. You have family in Cobb, correct?
Yes.
Okay, or family's lived in Cobb. And what area of Cobb County?
Alpharetta,
Okay.
cousins.
Okay. Now, you know how we've been.
Not Cobb County.
Ah, yes. You see how we've been butchering some of the stuff about Glenn County? Yeah, it's actually Fulton County, but we're all kind of lumped together up there. So, all right. So they live in Alpharetta, okay? And
then I have niece and nephew and their kids. I'm not exactly sure what. It's North Atlanta, that's all I know.
all right,
I've only been there once.
okay. And you stated you're familiar with something about Acres Mill Shopping Center?
No, I thought that was Cumberland Mall.
Oh,
Been
okay.
there a few times.
Okay. Anytime
Not
recently?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. You stated you've known some people who've done online dating before?
That boy that was in the Navy, he met his current wife that way.
Okay. It's like the current, like a dating website?
It was.
Okay. Like Match.com or something like that?
I don't know, but they're
Yeah.
happily married.
Okay. Good for them. How long have they been married?
Oh, gosh, 10 years maybe?
Okay. All right. You've transported children to daycare before? Okay, tell me about that.
Well, my daughter-in-law at the time wanted to go back to school, get a master's degree in nursing.
Mhm.
She had a full-time job. And the granddaughters were over there in daycare. And so she asked me to pick them up those afternoons that she had, maybe it's roofing repairs.
That would be a good bet. Yeah.
Anyway, she asked me to pick the girls up those days that she went on to night school.
Okay.
So I did.
Okay. And during that time, about how often would you pick them up? How many days a week? I'm not going to ask for an exact number.
It was either 2 or 3 times
Okay.
a week for those classes.
All right. All right. I think I am almost done. We talked about news stations and things like that. Do you watch the news regularly or read
Yes.
about it?
Yes.
And
It's
where
mostly Fox News or public television.
public broadcast stuff like that, public broadcast television or local news?
Not the broadcast.
Okay.
Not the radio.
All right. I think I'm gonna have to follow up another question or two with you later, but that's all I have for now. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Miss CD. Just have to make sure I've got the right person. All right, the only thing that I wanted to follow up that Mr. Bourne was asking you about was to clarify, you were picking up your grandchild 2 or 3 days a week? Granddaughters. And how old were they?
At the time, they were 3.
Okay.
But that was, what, 17 years ago?
Okay. And that was just a couple of days a week?
Correct.
Did you keep a car seat in your car for that?
No, April would leave hers there in the office of the daycare. And then I would go and get them and attach them to the back seat. They were just straps at that time. And then I would go in and get the girls and bring them out.
Okay. So you had to put the attachments in first
Yeah,
and
it
then,
was straps.
okay.
as I recall.
So it wasn't a full-blown car seat?
Pardon me?
Wasn't a full-blown car seat,
Not the kind they have now, where they
Mhm.
sit in base.
right? And you did that for how long? while she was in school?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. Was it 1 year or 2? Maybe just 1.
And was the place where you picked them up from, was it on the island also?
No, it's over in Brunswick.
Okay.
It's the big Baptist church there in Brunswick.
Okay.
And it's big.
All right, let me see what else we need to follow up on. All right, you indicated you had someone in the family or a friend or a coworker who had an affair. Who was that?
That was the same daughter-in-law, April.
Your daughter-in-law?
And they're now divorced, and he's the same one that's happily remarried.
Okay. To someone he met,
The
subsequently
affair-
met.
The affair precipitated the divorce.
I've got that you answered in the affirmative. I'd ask if you had any close friends who had experienced the unexpected death of a child.
It was my sister.
Your sister. Okay. And I'm sorry about that, but how long ago was that?
It was in 1968.
Okay. So that was that would have been before you had children.
Pardon me?
Was that before you had children?
It was at the same time.
Okay. And were y'all living in the same community?
No.
Where was she living at the time?
Wisconsin.
And you're originally from Indiana?
I was born there, yes.
Okay. Where did you mostly grow up then?
Illinois.
Okay. All right. I think everything else I'm gonna ask you about a few other questions later. Thank you.
All right, juror number 4. Okay, so you work in automotive as a tech, correct? And how long have you, I know you're pretty young, you probably haven't been in the workforce that long, but how long have you worked in that field?
Working in that field about 4.5 years.
Okay, and before that, did you study in any manner before you went into that field?
Our career academy, locally, for 3 years.
Okay, and is that where you're talking about getting certification or professional license?
No, certification is Automotive Service Excellence, ASC.
Okay.
There's A of them available for basic.
Okay. All right. And let's say for some reason, I know you said you want to be on this jury. If you were selected as a juror in this case, you're pretty young. We always ask this question to younger jurors. Even though you may be youthful compared to some other people, if you were back there in the jury room and let's say you disagreed with a bunch of the other jurors who may have, maybe a little older and things like that, would you be able to still express your opinions if they may be contrary to other people and be able to work with the other jurors to come to some agreement if you could?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I believe you stated that you've known some people in law enforcement before?
My current coworker was a law enforcement officer in Ohio. Excuse me.
Okay. All right.
But that's pretty much
And how about military?
Three deceased to be my grandfather on my mom's side, grandmother on my mom's side, grandfather on my dad's side, and two uncles.
Okay. We talked a little about social media and stuff like that. You probably answered more than most because of your familiarity and your youthfulness. You said that you use cell phone apps to communicate via Messenger in addition to text.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're familiar with, I guess, obviously Facebook. You said you don't use Instagram.
I don't use anything but Facebook, and I don't even really use Facebook anymore.
Okay, gotcha. I believe you stated that you've communicated or messaged with somebody you've never met in person before online in some forum. Okay, tell me about that.
Just from a site on Gaia Online, whenever I was in my teen years, where you make avatars and actually be in chat rooms with 30 people or so, and you actually talk.
Okay. And is that like something with similar interests, or like what is it like generally? How do you end up in, like, do you go to a specific chat room, or?
No, it's all random.
Okay.
Everything is randomized. You're just talking to random people around the world, all the way around the world.
Okay. All right. I believe you stated that you watched one of like a legal docudrama or a documentary or something like that.
I started watching Making a Murder.
Mm-hmm.
I probably watched about halfway through, and that was it.
Okay. Did you come away with any specific or particular opinions about that show? Okay. Now you've had a bad experience with law enforcement and a good one. Let's take the bad one first.
If there's any way I can talk to you in private for that one.
Okay, that's fine. We had one other issue to bring to talk about, so we can do that.
Positive, I was broke down on the side of the road, pushing my Blazer at the time, and 100-degree heat, police officer stopped. He actually picked me up, took me to the gas station, let me fill up, and took it back to my vehicle so I could go my way.
Okay.
And it just kind of stuck with me.
All right, great. Okay. I think you, like most everybody said, we ask, do you know anybody that's ever been arrested before for a crime or convicted or anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and just relationship to you, who would that be?
Myself. I have been arrested once.
Okay, and I'm not trying to embarrass or anything, but if at some point you want to make it private, let me know. But generally, what was the nature of it?
It was loitering and drug-related object, both misdemeanors.
Mhm.
I was fresh out of school and dumb.
Okay. All right. First, was the case dismissed, or did you have some
Trial
diversion? Yeah. Okay. And did you feel you were treated fairly in that situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty fair.
Anything that would affect your ability to be fair to both sides?
No.
Okay. Okay. I believe you stated you've known somebody who's been falsely accused of a crime before?
Falsely accused for a crime? I don't believe so. I believe that had to do with the bad situation with the house.
Okay, and we'll talk about that in private. Okay, thank you. Okay, you've had to report something, to give a police report before.
In front of my work, which is right there on Gloucester Street.
Yeah.
There was
I know where that is now.
yes,
Is-
there was a
Okay.
collision between an officer and a civilian, and I had to give a statement because I had seen it.
Okay. How far is that from here?
2 minutes over.
Yeah. Is that even a mile?
It's probably
No, no, okay. I think that was, not too far.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you said you've known somebody, or you've been engaged in online dating before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what type of sites have you
It was
used?
Gaia Online.
Mhm.
I met people through there,
Mm-hmm.
figured out who they were in real life, and started dating, and we'd actually do video chats. And
Okay.
things like that to verify that person you talk to is who you talk to.
Right. You want to make sure, because have you ever had people that have basically given fake personas online and basically led you into who they were?
Thankfully,
Okay. Do you know people who've tried to do that? Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. You've never transported a child, correct, in a car seat? Okay. And you said you're pretty sure you've ridden in a Hyundai Tucson. I think I mispronounced it. It was made fun of earlier by some of my coworkers.
Being a mechanic, I've probably been in so many vehicles,
Yeah.
I can't really tell you.
Okay. Let's take a poll. How many people think it's Hyundai? How many people think it's Hyundai? Did I completely butcher that? Nobody. Were y'all all laughing at me when I said it that way? Man. All right. Let's see. I believe you stated that you're familiar with the Look Again campaign.
What was
Or
that?
you've heard of it. You said something. You were asked by a defense attorney about the Look Again campaign.
I had heard it on 107.7, our local rock radio. Basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Just came on.
Okay. Let's see. And do you follow the news much?
No, sir, not very much.
When you do, if you get news or you go online to websites other than like social media stuff, where would you get news or information about the world or?
Passing through my house and my parents.
Okay.
And seeing it on TV.
All right. I believe that's all I have for now. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. P. I'm not sure that I heard you correctly. You talked about two sites. The first one that you said that you dealt with random people online. Did you say die online?
Got it. GAIA online.
I just couldn't hear you.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you indicated that you had watched a TV show called Making a Murderer. You didn't watch the whole thing?
Yes, sir.
Was that was Netflix?
Yes.
Okay. You just lost interest in it?
Watching with a friend who loses interest very fast.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Interesting. You indicate that you've got some online presence, but you don't use Facebook anymore.
No, Facebook's become something that I just don't waste my time with.
Is that just because it's for folks my age, folks that are a little bit older, maybe?
No, it's just the media that's being put on there right now. It's the drama around America right now. I just don't like it.
Too much drama?
Yes, sir.
All right. And by that, do you mean that when you open your Facebook feed, people are posting political stuff or stuff that about subject matters that you just don't care about?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are there any? Well, have you ever posted anything to Facebook?
Oh, pictures. I share random things.
You share?
If I do get on, I might scroll for a little while and share a few funny things.
Okay.
That's me and Facebook.
All right.
That's
How often do you think you scroll through in a day? Once a day? Twice a
not
day?
even daily anymore. I might get on once a week.
All right. And do you ever like things when you scroll through?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Are there any other sites that you look at daily?
Yes, sir.
None. Okay. Have you, you told us a little bit about what you do, and I know you're in the automotive industry. I think you told us how long you've been doing that kind of work. No, how long have you been doing that kind of work? 3 years?
About 4.5 years in the workforce.
Okay. All right. And you've indicated that you want to be on this jury. Does, have you talked to your employer about that?
Yes, actually, every time we get the lunch break, I go and I speak to them about it.
Okay. Well, you're a young guy, and you've shown up 2 days in a row with a tie on and a suit, which is shows a lot of respect for the court, and so I'm sure the court appreciates that. The lawyers do as well. But that's not your normal working type clothes, is it?
No.
Okay. And is that why you dressed like you did, because you wanted to show respect for sort of this proceeding?
Basically respect, not just for this proceeding, just, I was raised with a lot of respect.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay,
I was raised to mind my P's and Q's.
All right.
Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
okay.
So I just know how to show up for certain things, I guess.
Okay. Coming to the courthouse is, there's some gravitas to it. There's some significance and importance to it, and you understand that and you recognize that.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you grow up?
Born and raised in Huntsville.
Here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You answered 3, 4 questions I'm going to ask you about privately. But one of the things that you did mention was that you'd had a close friend or family member who experienced the unexpected death of a child.
Before I was born, my mother had given birth to a baby boy that only lived for about an hour. When I got to.
Okay. Okay, Mr. P, that is all I've got for you right now, but I will talk to you in a little bit later, okay?
Council approach. We have put in a prodigious amount of work today. Your patience has been greatly appreciated. We still have more work to do. Jurors 1, 2, 3, and 4 come back at 11 in the morning. And we hope to be ready for you. May or may not be, but we hope to. If we're not, the wait shouldn't be too dreadful. That's what I'm hoping for. The rest of you come back at 9 in the morning, and we'll pick back up with the the individual questioning in the same manner that we've been doing it. Now, I want to thank you, number one, for your courtesy, and secondly, for your patience. You've been extraordinarily patient. Please be prompt in the morning. It's time to really start, putting the pressure on to move through and be prompt, because there are a lot of moving parts here. And one late person messes up everything. So let's really make that effort to everybody be in the jury assembly room at 9 in the morning so we can get started and move along. Now, conduct requirements. Yes, I will always repeat these because they are that important. Keep an open mind. Don't discuss this matter with anyone else, with each other, and don't let anyone speak with you about the case. No contact with attorneys, parties, witnesses to the case. Independent research of any sort is absolutely off limits. Don't go electronically into any kind of research via computers. Don't look at or allow any media exposure. Don't allow, I think there was some comment, somebody called up and said, are you on that jury? And the response was, I can't talk to you about it. Excellent. That's exactly the way to go. Don't even describe, frankly, what the courtroom looks like. If you want to say mildly unflattering things about us, if it's mildly unflattering for 2 seconds, it's okay. That's a joke. It may not be a good one, but we all need to smile before we leave, don't we? So I'll say good evening to you. I will see 8 of you in the morning at 9. I'll see the first 4 at 11. You all have a good evening.
It's all right for the jury. Be seated, please.
Issues from the state before we recess?
No, Your Honor.
Issues for the defense before we recess?
Judge, I think you were going to let me just perfect the record real quick. It won't